And I laid, and she started talking about moon and crystals, and I'm thinking, oh, this woman is absolutely crackers. And all of a sudden my hands started to like move of their own accord. Crystals were down the middle of my body and they went flying off the bed because I was like shaking that much. And I ended up being brought up in half into like a V, where my fingers came across my body and were pulled towards my toes. It was really forceful. And she's like, don't worry, just trust. They're trying to get a message through to you. And the message that dropped into my head was, you need to be doing this type of work.
Welcome to Soul Sisters Get Real, the show that goes deep in who we really are and why we are really here.
We're your hosts, Karen from the States.
And Eleni from Australia.
We've had heartfelt conversations as soul sisters for years, and we're ready to share our truths, stories, and life lessons with you.
And to inspire you to connect to your truest essence, which resides deep within your soul. There'll be tears, there'll be laughter, and there'll be no holding back.
So sit back, relax, and let's get real about the things that truly matter.
Welcome, beautiful people. In this episode, we're going to be talking about how one beautiful lady transitioned from being a police officer to a healer and what that journey was and how it unfolded. Our beautiful guest today is Michelle Saunderson. Michelle has transitioned from being a police officer to a healer and loves to inspire others to step outside of the spiritual closet, just like she did. Michelle is an intuitive energy healer who has a passion for raising the vibration of the planet and connecting people at a deep soul level. Michelle is also known as one half of those two sisters, and she is well known for giving your soul a big, warm cuddle. Her big heart and warm smile will make you feel instantly at ease. So welcome, Michelle.
Thank you. I feel at ease just you saying that. So thank you very much. That was a very beautiful introduction.
Awesome.
Thanks for being here. I could use a big warm cuddle. That's beautiful.
Awesome. So let's just go back in time, Michelle. Let's go back to where you were a police officer and just describe what life was like as a police officer.
Oh my God, it was crazy. I had 23 years in the police. I joined up in 1999 when I was all of just 22. And only because I didn't know what to do. I just knew that I loved helping people. And I did science at uni because I liked science. And then I decided maybe forensics. Like I love dead bodies for some reason. So yeah, I joined the police to cut up dead bodies. Ended up not even doing that. Didn't even use my science degree. Ended up as an intelligence officer. But yeah, 23 years in the police. And look, it was okay. Like I'm not bagging my career or my job, but it just didn't fill my soul. I felt a little lost most of the time and I'm just not authentic most of the time. I just didn't feel I was being my true authentic self. I was putting a mask on or acting a particular way because I thought I should. And I did find intelligence within the police, which did suit my values and actually fulfilled my needs. So that was really good. Otherwise, I probably would have left. But most of my career I spent in intelligence, which was I really quite enjoyed. It was right up my alley, but yeah, it just wasn't me. It wasn't my soul. My soul just didn't like it. And I knew that from the minute I joined, but I was just being stubborn, Eleni, just being stubborn because everyone said I was the last person they'd imagined to be a police officer and that I was too nice. I'm like, screw you. I'm going to prove you wrong. So
tell us about the mask, Michelle. Tell us about this mask that you had to wear as a police officer.
Yeah, it was obviously a very masculine job, like mostly males, particularly when I joined up, 23 years ago, mostly males, not many females. So you had to blend in. You had to be one of the boys and talk like the boys and accept things that I should not have accepted. But I was pretty easygoing and it didn't really affect me. And so I just went with the flow.
Like what? What kind of thing?
There's a lot of sexual, not sexual harassment, but a lot of sexual innuendos. And I was a young single female. No one ever did anything to me untoward like that. I was, that made me uncomfortable. Oh, actually one guy, one old sergeant used to. Nothing too bad, but, a few little things like that. But I just used to go with it. Like if they could give it to me, I'd give it to them back just as much, They want to grab my bum, I'll grab theirs. Like it didn't affect me, but it probably could have affected some other women in the police just because I was pretty easygoing that it didn't. But I just went with the flow, and you're with males all the time. So you certainly weren't showing your spiritual side or your soulful side. Not that I even knew back then I had a spiritual side. I had no idea. Didn't even know. Well, I did know a little bit. My mum brought us up slightly spiritual, but she had very beautiful gifts that she hid because she was terrified back in the day of being judged and just lived in fear and still does. So, yeah, I got glimpses of it, but she never really displayed her full spiritual side. So I didn't even know I had a spiritual side. I was just going through life doing my thing, because that's all I thought I knew to do. Paid me well. In the end, I did actually really quite enjoy my job. I made the most out of it because I do with everything I do. But yeah, wearing a mask constantly. It's just not, it wasn't me, particularly out on the road. Like when I was out in the policing road, like I call it on the road, meaning out in general duties, dealing with drunks and fighting on the street and wrestling and capsicum spraying people and yeah, interesting times. It's just so not me.
You talked about, your bio was talking about being that big warm hug and what a facade you had to put on as you were being a big tough woman as a police officer.
It's so true. That's exactly right, Karen. It's just like, who was I? Like, that was not me. And I definitely acted. I don't have any regrets with how I acted. I didn't never act or treat someone poorly or anything like that. It just wasn't my soul. My soul wasn't fully expressed. That's probably the best way to explain it. So like even with the criminals, I was the nice one. I used to get people to do all sorts of things. They used to love me. And I had one guy swearing his head off. He was so high on, I don't think I've ever seen anyone so high on drugs. He was violent. He was uncontrollable. Like 5 men couldn't hold him down. He was wild, letting all the words under the sun. And he ended up getting sprayed, or he was blind from the capsicum spray. And then once he finally came to, he saw me and he's like, I'm so sorry, ma'am. Like, I was just being really nice to me just because I was a woman. And I thought, oh, that's really odd. And then I continued the abuse with the men. But generally I got to use my negotiation skills and my ability to communicate and read people actually came in really handy. And I never really got myself into many situations because of that, because I could talk to people. So, awesome. Yeah, I used my skills. It wasn't the worst career, but it just wasn't my full soul expression. Yeah.
So in terms of your job as a police officer, was there ever a time when you wanted to give people a big warm cuddle, but it was like, no, well, that's inappropriate?
I actually acted pretty authentically, I think. There was a lot that I didn't want to give a big warm cuddle to because there's a lot of nasty people in this world. But it's not all criminals. Like you would come across traffic accidents and the grief that you come across and the trauma. And so I got to use my skills there on that side of things, where the man's not going to walk up to the lady that's had a traffic accident and give her a hug. I did, like I would, just because that's my nature. So I actually probably got out, not unscathed, but in the best of a bad situation. I managed to just meld in enough my personality so that I could still show part of me, but it just never quite felt right, particularly in general duties. I just remember driving around with these big burly blokes kicking in doors thinking, what the heck am I doing? And also on my firearms trainings, like this one particular day we went through these scenarios. I was kitted up with all this stuff over my head and protection. I had my gun and I was like the movies. I was clearing rooms. People were shooting at me. I was shooting them back and people pulling knives. And I'm thinking, what am I doing? And the next day, because I'd gone part-time by that stage, I was running cacao circles and selling essential oils. That literally the next day, from being on this simunition scenario training where I was nearly in tears from stress of killing people, not killing, but simunition, like it was actually simunition coming out of my bullet that would hit them, and if they hit me, it hurt. So it was a big transition, a big change. And I just used to giggle. And I'd say to everyone, I was out shooting yesterday on the firing range, and here I am selling you essential oils, like singing Kumbaya around this circle. It's weird.
I love this. So I'm very curious. How did you get into the essential oils and the cacao ceremonies? And was that just part of something you started learning about earlier while you were in the police force?
Yes, my sister was into, there's four children in our family. My sister Diane, that's her on the sign there. she got into corporate and she had her awakening and ended up doing personal training for mums and then fell into essential oils. Like, I believe definitely universal pulls for her. This is how crazy. She ran into a lady in the Woolworths shopping centre. They were both looking at some natural product and the lady said, oh, you're into natural things too. We were brought up with a little alternative. We always brought up with, buckwheat pancakes, and I think Mum even used essential oils. She was quite alternative for the day. So we were naturally very drawn to natural things. And then she ended up selling essential oils. And I said, oh, this is really cool. I could help you. But I said I'd be the logistic. I'm quite a structured, process-driven sort of person. So I said, I'll run the logistics. And then I saw what she was doing and I'm like, hang on, I want a part of this. And it just naturally grew from there. And I did have a big spiritual awakening, which I'll talk a little bit about, where I remember the line in the sand where I had that changed me. It was like, whoa, that was big. So yes, if you want to know about that, I can tell you that.
Yeah, tell us about that now. Tell us about the spiritual awakening.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. Looking back, I had a few other signs. I'd been to healers and things. I don't know, I can't remember the exact reason I was drawn to healers, but I still believed in psychics and I did believe in spirits, but I was a bit on the fence, a bit not sure about the full moon and the crystals. That sort of was a bit too much for me. And my mum, and again, the essential oils put us in front of people that were more alternative. There was a lady there that was doing healings and my mum, I think, gave me a gift voucher. So I thought, oh, I'll go, whatever, if I get a nice little meditation. And and she started talking about moon and crystals and I'm thinking, oh, this woman is absolutely crackers. Anyway, I laid on the bed, pretty open, and she hadn't even started touching me or going near me and my hand started tingling and nearly cramping up. I thought, oh my God, this is weird. And all of a sudden my hands started to move of their own accord and they were curling up like this. And then they would just relax and it was coming in waves. And I thought, holy dooly, what's going on here? And then my whole body started shaking, moving. Crystals were down the middle of my body and they went flying off the bed because I was shaking that much. And my hands were going everywhere. And I ended up being brought up in half into a V where my fingers came across my body and were pulled towards my toes. It was really forceful. I was actually terrified because it wasn't me moving me and it was inch by inch. I tried to show someone the day after and I couldn't actually show them because I didn't have the ab strength to be able to do this motion. And I remember saying to my healer, Vicky, I knew her quite well by then. I'm like, Vicky, what's going on? And she's like, don't worry, just trust. They're trying to get a message through to you. And so I remember the minute my hands were down on my toes, I literally was touching my toes. I'm still on the healing bed and I'm in my head thinking, what the hell do you want? If you're trying to give me a message, what the hell is it? Make this stop. And the message that dropped into my head was, you need to be doing this type of work. And I was like, what? No. But it was that strong, I didn't have a choice. And after that, it opened me up and I was able to channel automatic writing and all sorts of businesses, stuff like that. And I just went with it.
So tell us more about the automatic writing.
Crazy.
How did that even start? So how did you know that you had automatic writing? How did that start?
Well, Vicky said you've had a big thing. And after when I Googled it and researched, I realized it's what they call and you guys would have heard of it, a Kundalini awakening, where all the energy is moving up your chakras and you're moving because it's a DNA sort of structure. And she said to do some journaling around it. And all these other symbols and signs had come through the healing. So I ended up starting this journal, still got it. And I don't know, I was so open. I remember I didn't have a thought in my head for about 24 hours. The thoughts, the ego, the talks. I was in peace for 24 hours. I was walking around like a zombie. I was like, what is this? And then because I was so open, obviously when I started journaling, my hand just used to just go like crazy and do all these geometric symbols and all this weird, wonderful things. Again, I got quite scared of it. I remember ringing her one day like, what? Because it hadn't occurred to me, it was so powerful. It hadn't occurred to me that maybe it wasn't good because it was so forceful. I thought, shit, maybe this is not actually good energy coming. And I ran in tears, I don't know what to do. It's coming through me. And she said, get out on the ground and lie. And so I just went out my front lawn. I don't know what the neighbours were thinking, flat out on the front lawn and grounded myself. She said, it's just a lot of energy coming through you. Yeah. I was told many years before that I was a light worker. And I remember saying to that lady, oh no, that's my sister. You've got the wrong one. Because I always thought my sister was she is as well, but I thought she was the spiritual one. And I was more the logistics, structural, which I am both, which is weird. Strange connection. I think that's why I can do police and energy work, because I have very much both sides of my personality is quite strong. Yeah, and I'm still doing my logistics and structure in the business. Like Diane, we say, throws a spaghetti at the wall because she's got these big vision ideas. And I just look at her and I'm like, how are you going to make that happen? And I clean it all up and put it into some sort of format that can actually work, you know. So
I love that. So you work together.
Yeah, really well, actually.
I wanted to mention something about automatic writing I thought is so interesting. I took a video course on channeling, and the woman that was teaching it was talking about, anyone can do automatic writing by getting yourself in that space. And you can start by asking the question, what is it my soul wants me most to know? And you could say soul or spirit or divine or however you want to say that. But what is it my soul, my divine, my spirit wants me most to know? Close your eyes and just let your hand write. And that is one way to get started in the automatic writing.
Yeah, it's a beautiful way. And the non-dominant hand,
I was going to say,
it's another good way.
The other way is the non-dominant hand. So if you're a right-hander, to allow your left hand to do it. I've done it with the left hand, and it's just so weird because everything is backwards, and you start from the right side of the page, and you go to the left side. But with your automatic writing, Michelle, because with me, I'm not sure whether that was automatic or not, whether that was my thoughts, my ego, I really don't know who did the writing. But with you, what were the messages that came through?
Oh, they were very powerful. It was about that I just remember talking about this key. You have the key and the infinity symbol kept coming like through really strongly. And then when I started on the page, it just kept put a hole in the page. It was like the infinity symbol, and it just the universal. I remember them lots of vortexes. So there'd be vortexes coming down my page, and obviously that being an energetic portal, and just really profound things about, I can't remember, it was that many years ago, but very profound, but a lot around energy, vortex, portals, and that style of thing. But I moved on from that, and I've worked out I can actually channel like through my mouth channel. That was an accident too. Like just these weird things happen to me. I don't know.
Are you able to do that now?
I probably could if I dropped in. It's really weird though. Like I'm talking crazy. Like
that's okay. I speak to channels all the time.
Good.
So how about we do that now?
Okay, let's try it. Oh my God. I wasn't prepared for this. It's good because I get nervous because I'm still very new at it. So yeah, I just sort of shut my eyes.
Before you do that, I just want to ask you, how did you learn that you could channel?
Again, by accident. I was out under the full moon. It was quite a funny story because I can't see the moon from my house, the way it's set up. And I end up having to sit on the front, I'm in a cul-de-sac on the front curb. I was chanting and I think, now what do I do now? Like, this is crazy to sit here and stare at the moon. What are you meant to do? It was a full moon ceremony. And then all of a sudden I started chanting this amazing song that I don't know where it came from. And I realized now that was the first time I ever channeled. It was a very ancient tribal type song. And then in my healings, I started just chanting because it was coming naturally, and I was doing intuitive energy healings. And then all of a sudden chanting turned into words, and then words turned into sentences. And then the more confident I become, I can drop in. Yeah, it happened to me once by myself, but I wasn't expecting it. It came through and I was lying on the bed doing a meditation for Uluru. There was a big group healing. And again, it's when I'm lying there thinking, what am I meant to be doing? So I put some Aboriginal music on because it was a group collective healing for Uluru. I was just lying there on my own healing bed in my space, which is quite powerful here. And all of a sudden this voice came through me and I nearly pooed myself because I didn't know what it was. And it started talking to me, to me. And I felt love. And it was saying, we have been trying to come through for so long and you've been blocking it. We've been waiting. And they also said I had a lot of guides, but at this one particular person, they didn't say their name, came through because they matched the frequency of me and I was allowed. That was the frequency I was allowing through. And I'm in my garage and it was getting really loud. And I'm thinking, what if someone walks past? But I just couldn't control it. And then at one stage, it went for about 15 minutes. At the end, it petered off and scared me because my voice came back as theirs came back, and then it would sort of come in and out. And then, and then it was gone. And I was like, holy. And I was going to do a podcast on it, but I couldn't put words around what happened. And I didn't feel it did it justice. Just at the time, like, this doesn't really need to be shared. It was my own personal thing. And I remembered, but I don't remember. I just remember the love washing over me, like so much love. Like they were saying, we love you. You're on your the right path. You're a healer, and we're just glad that you're finally opening up. We've been trying to come through for I don't know how long.
It's so very interesting, Michelle, because
powerful.
I have 2 channels that I have helped come out of the spiritual closet and channel publicly. And I have done podcasts with both of them, and they both now do channeling publicly as a result of me helping them do it because they felt too weird doing it.
Yes.
But my belief is if you have this extraordinary gift where you can channel, that you actually need to. So that's my belief. My belief is that this gift is not just given to you for you. It's given to you to share, because more and more people will have their own spiritual awakening just by hearing you and hearing your words. And so it's fascinating. But of course, to begin with, when you're in this, like, what's going on, you're right. That's not the time to come out publicly and go, look, this is what I can do, because you haven't quite settled into it yourself. You haven't quite integrated with it yourself. But this feels like a beautiful gift, and no accident that you've just mentioned. Well, I can channel.
So have you got any other tips for me for my confidence, Eleni?
Well, I think the more you do it, the better.
Yeah, I know.
The more you do it, the better it is for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Like, as an example, so I have another podcast called Galactic Guidance, where every week we channel with the channel, and the more he does it, the more he can do it without getting tired. So it really is this way of utilizing your body in a really a way that gets used to the huge energy that comes in. Because for those of you who don't know, when people channel, they're channeling a higher dimensional spirit or being that is carrying a lot of energy.
Mm-hmm.
And the energy is a higher level than what we're at, than what our body can hold. And so it's quite a big ask to bring that energy into the body, because the body will actually be impacted. But the more it does it, the more it gets used to it. Mm-hmm. So it really is this practice thing that channels need to do. Is the more they do it, the more the body can acclimatize to the very, very high energy levels. So how exciting. We didn't know. I've known Michelle for a while, and I never knew she was a channel.
I keep quiet. Oh, goodness me. For a reason. I'm like, I'm still in that 100% believe, because what happened that day on my bed by myself was not me. 100% believe. But sometimes it is a mix of me and the channel. I'm actually doing a course to support me through this, because I'm like, which part of coming out of my mouth is actually me speaking, because I'm still here, and which part is the channel. And that's why I probably don't do it, because I'm thinking I don't want to be looked at as a fraud. And I just started, I feel the fear and I do things anyway. I'll just say yes to everything. And through my course, it came up, we were practicing channeling with our other participants, and this woman, and I just realized I really love talking about business and running businesses. And she asked a business question. And it's the first time I've had anyone ask a question, because I'm terrified of that too, because I just want like general, because it lets me just talk as it comes. And I just had it drop in, and I listened to my intuition. It said, like, basically you need to be, and I was doing it anyway, channeling for business women. So I just felt sick, and I just put it out there. I said, I'm doing business channeling, and I've only done 3 now, and I still get terrified. I've got one this afternoon. I'm already nervous. But what I realized, I was doing it anyway. And I do it my way. The first one I sat and I went into full trance and proper channel, but that just didn't feel right, because I wanted to have a conversation. So the next one I said, I'm just practicing learning here, but I'm going to just have a conversation with you. And then I find what happens is it comes through as I'm talking. My hand starts, and things start dropping in that aren't mine, a lot of visual things. So I just started doing that. And if it wants to come in full channel, they will. And if it's just a mix of me and my expertise in coaching and business and the channel together, I think that works best for me. So that's what I'm doing for the moment.
I know a woman that is also a business coach and a channeler, and she does the same thing. And sometimes she says it comes from spirit, and sometimes it comes from me. and she just lets it flow as she hears it coming, the wisdom and the advice. So it
I'm
sounds
glad
really
you said that.
similar.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. That's confirmed for me that I'm on the right track, and I've got to trust that I'm doing things for the right reason. And but you're right, Elaine, you get really hot. Like the energy that comes through, I just like sometimes in my healings, I'm like, I don't sweat at all really. And I'm like, oh my God, like holy dooly. It gets really hot really quickly. And I'm like starting to strip clothes off because I'm like, oh, yeah. So
interesting. See, I think that all of us channel and we don't realize we are, because when I'm presenting, so when I'm doing my retreats or my workshops, I never would wear a long sleeve top ever, no matter how cold it is. I will always wear short sleeve or sleeveless because I get really, really hot. So even when we think we're not channeling, that it's just us, there's always, spirit is always working through us when we're doing our purpose work. That's
Agreed.
what I believe.
100%.
Always working through it. It's just that with you, it's more obvious because it's like this different voice that's coming through. So how fascinating. Do you need to drink some water before we get started? Drink some water. Because I know with channel, because I've worked with channels for so long that they always need to drink their water.
I get so thirsty. I even channeled our logo. That was when I was doing the automatic writing. So my sister was telling Ron that I can automatic write, so I was going to channel the logo for her business. And I was like, yeah, just to shut her up. And eventually she just was on my case. And it just came out in about 5 minutes. Just amazing.
Wow, I did not know any of these. So exciting. So let's do it, Michelle. Let's channel. Well, before you go in, who are you channeling? Do you know?
No, and I think because I'm still in that mix of who is it me mix that if I come up with a name, I always think it's me. So I've avoided sort of saying, who are you? For that reason. But apparently you can ask them and it'll come. I just trust that it will come out. I think I have to be in a fair trance for it to come out, so I'm not still fighting it, because that's why I find it was better in my healings, because it's dark. You're in a meditative state. I do pretty much trance healings, and that it comes out better because I'm already like that and people are on the bed half asleep and not, on a computer looking at you. So, yeah, it's easier like that.
Awesome. So let's relax.
Oh, God. Let me take my little shoes off.
All right. Let's relax.
Thank God. All right. So just opening sacred space and calling my heart's beating in miles an hour, any guides or frequencies of vibration of love and light to come through, and pass any messages that need to come through for the podcast listeners and Eleni and Karen today. Oh, good morning. Oh, the fun today. Oh, my goodness. Today we need to bring the fun, and it's coming through. So fun. The excitement. Oh, it's like a little child. And we are bringing in the bubbles and the fun and the excitement for you today. That is... We need to bring the fun through for you today because we are all so serious.
Oh, yeah.
So much heaviness. So much responsibility.
Yes.
So much overwhelm and tightness and hardness and, For you, Michelle, and the listeners, particularly more so for you, Michelle, we are bringing the message through that it does not have to be hard, my children. It does not have to be hard. It is time to learn to bring back the joy and the fun in your life and allow yourself to be nurtured and loved and held. This is for you and for the collective. There is a time for seriousness, of course. But in the moments in between, our dear children, allow yourselves some time to just be. Allow the fun and the joy to, as we said at the start, bubble up within your being. And we will end with the same energy that we came through at the start with. The fun, the joy, and the childlike nature. Let's smile together.
Oh, we are smiling. Is there any way that we could ask a question?
Yes, go through.
Can you tell us what your name is?
I wish to say my name is Ariel, like the mermaid.
Oh, beautiful. That is a beautiful name, Ariel.
Oh.
And we are so grateful for the message about having more fun. I was wondering whether there's a message you can give Karen and myself about this podcast, Soul Sisters Get Real.
Get real is the answer here. The authenticity that is being brought through is what is required for the collective. The realness, the get to the point nature of what you are discussing is the point that humankind is needing. The realer you can get, the more authentic you can get, the best your audience will align with your messages. The collective messages coming through is increasing the vibration of the planet. However, we must ensure the connection is the realness together. The collection is real and connected. Do you have any other questions today?
Yes, I do have another question, which is at this moment in time when people are wearing a lot of masks and people are not showing their true self, what do we need to do as light workers and way showers to help people take off their own mask?
You say the word light, and as you say that word, the feeling in this physical body is extremely light. Michelle is feeling nearly not here. Light fingers, light body, light. The answer here is this exact thing. The light, the vibration is what is taking the masks off. The lighter we become, the lighter the people become. As we increase our vibration and become more in this state, as you notice, we have become calm. The lighter we are, that shall attract more light. As the light rises in the others, that then will allow them to take off their masks as they become more aligned with their light body and their spiritual connection. That is when the masks will be removed. Mm-hmm.
That is great. And in order to have light bodies, that is about joy and fun and being, correct?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Thank you for coming through.
Oh my goodness, this is crazy. God.
That was awesome.
Michelle,
Oh my God.
that was awesome.
Oh God.
Michelle, that was awesome because it's so clear that this energy is very different to the way you speak too.
I just want to hide. I'm just like, oh God. All right. I'm like fully sweating.
That was awesome. I want to bring you back another time, but to ask more questions. I just didn't want to tie you.
I don't really get tired.
I've got more questions.
I got my feet sweating. I just get so crazy. Oh, that lightness was amazing.
Oh my!
I could literally feel it. Like my whole body went like light. And
it started to transfer through. Like when you were feeling this lightness, I just started to feel it as well. And how long ago did you first have this experience?
The one on the bed probably 2 years ago. So
it's for 2 years, and you still say, you know, you're a healer. You're actually a channel.
I know. I just fight it.
Like there's millions of people that are healers.
I know. I just fight it. And when they come through really strong because I think it's like a build-up of energy. So when you open it, it's like this rush. It usually at the start, generally lately, because I don't do it very often, it comes through like because it's like
I loved it. It was
kick the hose.
Awesome. How good was it, Karen?
It was awesome. And the beautiful part was right in the beginning. The spirit that came through was so childlike, but it was all so beautiful and joy and fun. And it was like Eleni and I couldn't stop smiling.
Because I've been very overwhelmed lately. So it makes sense that would come through like that for me. Because Eleni and I did a podcast about shame and parenting, and it's a lot. And so I've been pretty under the weather with a lot of stuff. So it makes sense that would come through. I mean, for me, but I think they said for everybody, not just me, obviously. But that's what is alive in me at the moment. So that's probably why that came through. But then the whole thing dropped into calmness, like it was going like quite like blah, and then it just went like when you asked that last question, it just went calm.
Yeah. And, interesting you say that about the heaviness of parenting that's a whole nother episode because parenting is not for the lighthearted. And I don't care who you are. I said so many times, I wish there was a playbook because it doesn't matter if we're healers or spiritual or channels. It is still something that we all get to work through. So love to see your realness. Thank you for sharing that.
And thank you for we didn't talk about this before.
No.
I didn't even know you were a channel. And so you were put on the spot. But in terms of the message that came through about fun, I don't think it was just for you because I took that message on board straight away. Because sometimes I'm thinking I'm living by the beach, by the ocean, and I still get caught in not fun stuff, and then a whole day has gone past and I haven't actually had some fun in my day when I could have.
Yes.
There's so many things I could have done to just, to bring some fun. And it's almost like a conscious decision to have fun. Like I've got to have some fun now. So put the music on and dance or something like that. But it's like, it needs to be more part of my day, more a decision that today I'm going to have fun no matter what,
Right, because as children, we have fun. We play, we have fun. And as we get to be adults, we get this heaviness on us and this baggage on us. And we get to be serious all the time. And we have so much to do all the time. So I have a question for you, Lenny, is when is the last time that you skipped on the beach and sung in the water?
Yeah, well, because it's been a bit cold. The thing is, even in the cold, people go in the water. There are people in the water every single day, irrespective of weather, like there are, because it's not snowing here. It's not like the States. So we can go in the water. It's just that I'm a bit chicken to go into the water. So it hasn't been since the summer that I've done that.
Sounds like you get to skip in the water, cold or not.
Yeah, exactly.
If you're going to go in for an ice bath this afternoon, I can feel it.
Yeah,
Are you watching your stories, Eleni, watching to see what happens?
I can. And that thought's been coming to me as I've been going on my beach walks and looking at other people who are brave enough to go in the freezing cold water. It's like, you know what? I can do that.
That's what you used to do as a kid, remember? You used to run in no matter, it could be snowing and kids want to get in the water. So that makes sense that after what we just said.
Yeah, exactly. It's so good. So good for us. Wow, Michelle. Wow. Talk about blowing us right out of the water. And what's so fascinating about your channel is that it is a completely different energy and sound that comes from your mouth. There is no doubt, girl, that you're not faking it.
No, I don't. I'm definitely not faking it. But it's just a mix of the thoughts. If I can drop right out of it, it's actually quite good. I don't have any doubts. When I'm still half conscious that I doubt, but I did pretty good dropping there. Depends on my mood, how I can drop and how I can't.
Too.
I can do it quick.
Got in there in a moment.
I can do it quick. And that's another thing I noticed with my healings. It's not a good practice, but every now and again, I had back-to-back stuff and the person would be arriving in 5 minutes and I'd be racing around trying to shove food in my mouth and get the room ready. For some reason, I don't know how, I can just stand in front of my altar and I just drop in. I don't know, it's a thing. It's probably not the best thing, but I can.
It's look, you know what? I have been trying to channel for years.
Watch out.
You are so fortunate because I've been trying to do this for years. I've done channeling courses and it's just it's not my time to do that. But more and more people across the planet are channeling. More and more people are channeling as we're moving this, as awakening is occurring on a grand scale. And so, your messages need to be heard so that people understand that this is all that what we see is not it. There is so much more than this.
I think with the channeling too, it helps if you mimic someone, because that's what I did. I found I randomly ran into a girl that did Francesca Moy's course with me, and she again, random, not random. I met her. Oh, what do you do? Oh, I do spiritual awakenings. Turns out she was a channel. Then she did some work on me, and then so when I started, when the voice, I just sort of mimicked what she was doing a little bit. And then that's what started it for me, because I was like, so you might want to just start talking in a weird voice to start with, Eleni, and then it's just it starts it, and then the rest just starts coming through. So I don't know.
That's interesting that you say that. I love how universe works, because when somebody says something to you, you've already got a seed there from something else, and then it's all magical and connected. Because last week, for the very first time, as I was just sitting there meditating, I had this urge to do a sound that one of the ladies does, who brings in Archangel Raphael.
Oh,
she's
wow.
on Insta. Her name is Kelly. And she does this kind of sound. And I just had this urge to do it. And I sort of stopped, because it was like, what am I trying to do? I'm not her.
Yes.
And now that you say that, why did that even come into my mind to do that?
Because it starts with sound. That's how it starts. I started with sound, just making weird noises, and I can sing when I do my channeling, and I am tone deaf pretty much. I cannot sing. But when this, whatever comes through me, it's like I had a singer on my bed. I forgot she was a singer. And then later on afterwards, she goes, oh, I just want to let you know, everything that came through was you were on point tone. I was like, what?
Oh
so
my
it's sound.
goodness.
So I think, yeah, for you just start making weird sounds.
Wow. That's such a confirmation, because I thought, no, that's just silly. Like, what? Trying to be somebody else. But now this makes sense. So do you actually hear everything that comes through? Like with this, the questions that we asked, did you hear all that came through? You did.
Yeah. Some people say they don't remember anything. I'm still here. I still remember it. It's a bit of a blur, but I still remember it. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. It's
Wow.
cool. Yeah. Really cool. Hey.
Thank
Really
you.
cool.
Yes. And thank you for going out on a limb and being risky and taking a risk and doing that with us. I appreciate that.
That's probably the biggest message I have for people is to feel that bloody fear and do it anyway, because I know that's very cliched, but that's how I've lived my life. If I feel my intuition says to do something, I just say yes without thinking about too much about it. And it's got me where I am now. And one of my coaches said to me once, when you're nervous, focus on service. And I thought, she said, when you're nervous, it means you're in your ego because you care about what people think about you and are you going to do a good job? It's all about you. But when you're nervous, if you focus on service and what you're offering the other person, then the nerves literally disappear. And it's so true. I used to nearly vomit and give myself migraines when I started doing this work with card readings and things, like whipping migraines, and I just do it anyway. I was in tears sometimes before I start because I was so scared.
So I just want to repeat that because I think that's important. When nervous, remember you are in service.
Yeah.
So really this is what it's all about, that we are in service. There's a reason we're all doing this at this particular time, at this moment in time when people are awakening more and more and more, because we're in service. It's not about us. It's the ego that wants it to be all about us and all about how many followers do we have and, how much income is coming in. But it's all about being in service to others. And when we have that intention, the universe just co-creates with us and helps us in miraculous ways to connect. And, we think they're coincidences, but they're not. Everything is perfect and beautiful, divine synchronicity. So, Michelle, before you go, there's a question that we ask every single guest that comes to this show. Now, the interesting thing is the Ariel, so that's your...
Yes, the name came through.
Ariel, who is what a beautiful, gorgeous name. She gave us the answer to this question, but now I'm going to ask Michelle. Yep. So, Michelle, this podcast is called Soul Sisters Get Real. What does it mean to you to get real?
Yes, I love that question because a lot of people aren't being real. And for me, it is about being your true, authentic self. And I mean, I was brought up this way, so it's hard to answer. My dad just was like, you just be yourself. So it's about, as you said earlier, taking the masks off, but just always, this is what my dad always taught me. You don't need to worry about what other people are thinking about you because they're all too busy worried about themselves. Yeah. That's what he drilled into me as a child. So I do pretty much whenever I want to whatever I want. Of course, there's things that you hold back sometimes, but generally what you see is what you get with me. And then most people say that's why they feel so connected to me, because they know that I'm genuine and I'm real because I'm not pretending. And it's just about doing what you want when you want, because everyone else is worried about themselves. Like, everyone is in their own head worrying about their hair and their makeup and what they look like and who likes them. And so I got over that pretty quick. Just be yourself.
Beautiful. Just be yourself. Don't worry about what other people think, because they're thinking about themselves. They're not thinking about you.
And it's liberating. It's so freeing to be able to be yourself.
Yeah, it is. So awesome. Thank you so much for coming in for today's episode.
You're welcome.
We are so very grateful for you.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for allowing me to use that channel for the better good and do it on the spot, because that's what you need to do sometimes, is just get put on the spot to say yes to things. So thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching. We hope you loved it.
And if you did, please like this video and subscribe to the channel.
And remember, always connect to your truest essence.
And choose love. We'll see you next time.